Hey, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I'm just happy because I knew we went live before he did this time. And by the way,
I
we
was
are the
late.
CRM Playaz. Yeah, no, that. Yeah.
So do I
Yes.
now have to talk 5 seconds after you?
Well, say that for next time, this happens, which
Okay.
you never know what it'll be. But we are the CRM Playaz. It is Thursday afternoon. Yeah, it's kind of sunny outside in Atlanta. How's it up there?
It's all right. I mean, it's the nice thing about today, top 79. Tomorrow we start getting back into the 80s and the 90s, so I get grumpy again.
Whoa. Well, I'm glad we've got you now while it's still nice and cool.
Mood's good.
What was that Bruce Banner used to say that you wouldn't like me when I'm angry or something like that?
I can't remember, but yes.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, the show can officially begin now because
Sven,
yeah,
Spanish.
yeah.
Spanish.
Hello, amigo. Hello, friends. I know that one. All
Hola.
right, I feel good. And it's Christy, the
Christy.
birthday girl.
That's
Yesterday
right.
was Christy's birthday. Happy birthday. Everybody in the comments section wish
Start sing.
Christy
No,
a
sing
happy.
happy birthday to her.
Yeah, you
Sing
can do
happy
that too
birthday
if you
from the
want,
comments section. No,
because
I
we
can't.
won't
You
hear
have a
it.
terrible
So
voice.
you can go crazy on that one. And now here's a first. I think this is a first.
What?
Hello from who's
Um,
that?
all I know is she is a very well-known fitness guru in New York.
Let's
Right?
just put it
That's all I
like
know about her.
this. I believe we'll get a taste of the gun show a little later today.
That's right. Before they sign a bill making it illegal.
Oh, look at Sven. Sven is already giving you props here.
Thank you, sir. Set for the new show.
That's right. And Christy is seconding that.
And I'm more sound ready.
Uh,
Anybody who's on listening in who hasn't been a regular has no idea what we're talking about.
yeah, that's okay. They'll figure it out. Maybe.
No, they won't.
Happy oh, so we do know that there's another person who does have a birthday today. So Christie's was yesterday, and our newfound friend Steph Londano, I hope I said her last name right.
I think there's
She'll
an
let
S.
us know. I think it's Londano, Steph. But
Londano.
either way, happy birthday, new friend. We're
Hey,
glad to know
Steph. She's just turning 19, as far as I know.
you. Well,
She's
yes,
child prodigy.
that's
Child
okay.
prodigy.
Oh, now Sven is coming back with so we got to do a belated birthday to Sven. Should I say my birthday was March 25th? You feel free to.
If you want to anticipate mine, no, actually don't. I'm going to be 72. I don't need you to wish me a year older.
Bob is wishing a company good afternoon. I think that's a first.
You know what? He's basically getting us back on track for the show, is what he's doing.
Oh, is
Good,
that what's
good work, Bob. Thank you. Thank you for
Leave
the
it to
cues.
Bob. Leave it to
Thank you
Bob.
for the
Dude.
cues, man.
Yeah, thank you. Words I never thought I'd say. Thank you, Bob Fagel.
Which Brett will find out why later.
Yeah. All right. Yes, folks. So this is a special show. Now, last week we did kind of a preview or a road to Experience 21, the Genesys user conference. It's going on right now. So we're calling this, are we calling this like the halftime or the end game or what are we calling this one?
I don't know. End of the third quarter. I have no idea. Sounds awful. This is the end of the third quarter show.
Anyway, the actual event is still going on. It started yesterday, big keynotes yesterday, big things happening today.
Yeah.
And because
stuff.
yeah, interesting stuff. And luckily for us, we were able to pull a couple of folks out of the virtual event and bring them with us. We'll tell you who they are in a second. But before we do that, I wanted to just give a shout out to our buddies at see if I got this straight at mycustomer.com because we're buddies with them, and not only are we buddies with them, I want to make sure I can do this right. We're actually friends with them now. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
We're partners. This is really cool. I think this is really fun. How long have you known these guys? My customer, at least
Oh my
12,
God,
15
almost
years or something like that?
at least. I think I've known them the length of my career, just about. I mean, I think they were already in existence. I think I'm not 100% on that before I even started, or around the same time, and I've known them the entirety of my career.
Really?
Amazing. Oh my God, they're amazing.
They've been
Look,
around that long? No.
maybe not. I mean, it's around, it's just I've been around that long, so my memory's bad. Right. So I will say one thing. Look, about my customer, they have some of the best content in the world. They always have. They're based in the UK, of course, so the audience has been historically more UK. I'm not UK, Europe, with a big sort of big piece in the US and some in Asia and so on. But honestly, to me, they're the single best site and have been for many years when it comes to getting real content on what's going on.
They're great. And it's not only a great site, but there's some great people
Yes.
behind the site. And one of them is somebody we've known forever. It feels like it's been forever. Neil Davey, who's he's beyond the managing editor now. He's like the big shebang for the whole My Customer. Yeah.
I think he's editor in chief now.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But he's also a buddy of ours, and we've been wanting to get the CRM Playaz video content a little further out to get more eyeballs on it, because we just talked to a lot of great people and have really interesting conversations, and it's kind of just a shame to let it sit there after a week or two. So we said, hey, why don't we talk to the folks that we really think will do a great job and would be interested in the kind of content we have. And My Customer is the first. Neil Davis was the first person we even thought of, first person we talked to, and lucky for us, he was excited to let us bring some of the content over to the My Customer audience. So as you can see there on the kind of the one closest to the left, what color is that? Is that like a light orange kind of thing with I don't know, something like that.
One of 16 million possibilities. That's all I know.
Anyway, so we're going to be showcasing some of our conversations, some of our roundtable conversations, some of our regular shows with the My Customer audience. It's like Paul said, great content when it comes to customer experience, and we have an opportunity to talk to so many great folks in that space. So we're going to you're going to start seeing some of the CRM Playaz content showing up there. And the first one was from a previous roundtable conversation. And it's really interesting, actually. It couldn't have worked out better, if you ask me, because look at the title, How CRM Vendors Are Improving Empathy. Now, if there's one word that we've heard a lot over the last 2 days from Experience 21, it is absolutely empathy. And we're going to dig into that in a minute, because we have a few guests that we would like to introduce to you right now. Are we ready?
I'm set. Take it away.
I'm looking at this. What, peach? Oh, peach.
Oh, the color.
The color peach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Better than the color purple. Anyway, moving right along. All right. So for the first time, I believe this is the first time that this gentleman has been on with us. He is the Senior Vice President of Product Management, Digital and AI at Genesys, Brett Weigl. Brett, thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Absolutely. Happy to talk to everyone, you guys especially.
Well, this will be a blast.
Absolutely. You know what, though? I think there's a bit of trend going on with Genesys and us, because it was last year we talked to John Hernandez, and he had only been at the company. Well, he was at the company, then he left, and then he reappeared at the company. And he was only like a couple of months into being back when he joined us. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Brett, you're only about a month or two into being at Genesys, right?
Yeah, that's right. May 10 was my first day. Previously at Salesforce, before that Exact Target. So definitely some relevant experiences, including some time working with John in the past as well. So
Amazing.
it's a small world.
Nice. Small world. You don't know how small it is because, well, the person that is joining you with us right now, she's been here before.
That's right.
Hello, everybody.
The understatement of the century just made by Brent.
Yeah,
We've been here before.
we kind of know her. You know, she used to be a Playa-in-Residence, really integral
She
part of the
abandoned
show.
us. She
Yeah.
abandoned
Yeah.
us. We still feel that sense of abandonment. I want you to know that, Ginger.
See,
We
Brett,
still feel it.
the
That's
thing
why
you
I
don't,
keep coming back.
yeah, like
You're
a
just sort
bad
of
penny.
easing
But,
the
you know, but it wasn't just that you left us, which was, you know, I'm still going to therapy to get over that. It was the way that you did it, actually. Just like Brett, this is no joke. So we were at the end of a show. It was a really good show. We really enjoyed it tremendously. I can't remember a damn thing about the show at this point because it
Me
was
either.
at the end of the show where Ginger Conlon just kind of dropped the like flat on our heads. Oh, by the way, this is my
before
link.
before you go there,
Okay.
before you go there, not only did she about to do it, but we were literally ending the show. And she said,
Yes.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have an announcement.
Yeah.
I think, Ginger, you've probably been watching too many Apple keynotes, you know. And one more thing.
Well, my part of my
Dot.
background is direct marketing, right? So it's like,
There you
and
go.
before you go, and wait, that's not all.
But apparently it was all because that was the last time she was a Playa-in-Residence. But we were heartened that she was going to Genesys and help with the thought leadership program there. And that was the silver lining to the cloud, right? So
Yeah.
welcome
And
back,
we-
Ginger.
Thank you.
And we had Ginger and Janelle on together, and that was actually a great show. Although
was.
I will, Ginger, no matter how many times you're back, it's not the same, but B will never let you forget that.
It wouldn't be right if you didn't. I mean, that's just, it's just how you guys are.
Yeah.
But
Matter of
I
fact,
came prepared because I've got the Mets earrings on today. So
Oh,
I'm in the
okay.
team colors because I know there's always a sports theme. So I just wanted to point that out.
well, now that you've added that denomination to the whole
Wow.
I still
Actually,
think
wasn't
that,
bad.
I know we got to get into some real stuff here, but Ginger, do you think we were the first ones because we started
Yes.
this whole degrominable thing years ago before he was actually like he was still Goldilocks looking dude. Well, that was Thor. He had the long locks; they just weren't gold. But he wasn't nearly as good as he is now as he was back then. And we started doing all the DeGrom name stuff, right?
Definitely. I think we were the originators.
There it is.
It must be.
Yeah, we'll just like to think it. Anyway,
I trademark it. Quick.
yeah. So, Brett, this is since you're new to Genesys, this is your first experience event, right?
Yeah, for first time, and it's always good to join a company right before their annual customer event because you're instantly in the thick of it. So yeah, it's been fantastic though to engage immediately in a big launch, and we're super excited about the rest of the year now on the back of that.
And you didn't just show up; you got involved, right? You're doing stuff. You aren't just a spectator.
Yeah, well, had to. We're bringing together a team from Bold 360, which we acquired. We closed in early May on that. Launched Genesys DX yesterday, which is the Bold 360 product, but transformed with new pieces from Genesys Digital and AI, and really it's also a human coming together because we have many different teams who are going to be working much more closely together to create the future here across digital and AI. From solutions for small companies all the way to the biggest in the world. So yeah, there's been a lot of global meetings with a lot of people to the east of me. So it's been a lot of early mornings, a lot of time with a coffee maker, but afternoons to think and to contemplate.
So let me ask you guys. So obviously if I'm picking the big product announcement, it's DX really. I mean, at least from my standpoint. First, I'm seeing that. And by the way, be alert. As Ginger knows, my questions are always long-winded, right? Right. From my standpoint, it pointed up two things that are of interest, and I'd like if you can elaborate on them, and each of you in a different way. One is that you actually know the difference between experience and engagement, and that I'm actually seeing a set of an engagement suite, really, engagement tools being launched. Two is that the tool set itself, obviously, from at least what I initially saw, and I haven't seen it, let's say in full analyst demo mode, so to speak, but from what I saw initially, are very much geared towards scale, right? And not just the actual communications, but scaling, being able to scale both the communications themselves, so to speak, and the interactions themselves, and the data and capturing the data side too. So can you on the one hand, maybe Brett, you elaborate on that the suite itself and give people some idea of what it's like, and secondly, maybe both of you weigh in on that difference between engagement and experience, because as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the very few companies that doesn't just interchangeably use them and normally use experience to explain engagement completely wrong. Okay, so you guys do distinguish, and I really appreciated that. So Brett, why don't you start though with the actual discussion of the suite?
So the fundamental thing that DX is, so Genesys DX launched yesterday. It brings together engagement everywhere across any form of digital. So all of the trendy messaging apps, even internal ones like Microsoft Teams, for instance, which is that's kind of an interesting area of that blending of employee engagement and external customer engagement. SMS, email, things that are more asynchronous like that. And then, of course, chat on the web, on mobile. And, we bring all of those things together. Nice, convenient interface where whether you call them agents or they're digital workers or they're your, sort of customer associates, can engage with customers really easily. But then I think where the solution really is, where it really sings, is like you were saying, that kind of scale element of being able to scale self-service to millions of interactions really seamlessly with a very low touch, get started easily kind of mentality. I think this kind of technology really works best when it's democratized, where it you don't need a PhD in order to get started with the idea of serving your customers at scale. And then there's a productivity environment that's data rich, and we track everything that's going on operationally, but also on the customer experience side of things, because we know that you have to optimize over time. You have to be able to have those points where you say, what's going sideways, what should we know as we track things over time might be producing bad experiences for specific customers, and then we can generalize that and then start to rectify the situation. So it's a really complete offer, and we'll talk about future plans with it, I'm sure, later on, but I think we're just excited about what it offers out of the box to our customers.
Okay, so can you guys elaborate a little bit on the difference between engagement and experience, at least to the way you look at it? I mean, I may have a different view of it, but I'd like to I think people need to hear this from vendors, especially, and you're the only vendor I know actually makes that distinction. Well, there's one other one, but makes that distinction really clear.
Ginger, do you want first crack at that one?
Sure. This will probably have a little bit of a Ginger spin, having covered customer experience for a long time. I mean, to me,
we missed the Ginger spin, so feel free to spin away.
I thought that was a smoothie you were offering as a
It's the cycle program, the cycling program. Anyway, so you have the customer experience with the capital C and capital E, right? That's what customers, the totality of their interactions with you over time and how they feel about it and how that creates the relationship with them, right? And then you have the individual interactions that are, an experience, right? I have a chat and it goes really well. And so I've had a great experience in that moment. And because of that, I'm perhaps more engaged, right? So the experiences are helping to create that engagement, the small C and small E experiences.
No, I mean, listen, I call what you just called the small C and E experiences and get the actual engagement, meaning it's the interactivity and communications between the company and the customers. And that creates, I think your definition of customer experience nailed it. I mean, just absolutely nailed it. It's how a company feels about a customer over time, right? And ultimately they're symbiotic, but they're different. And so the other thing, and this is sort of the follow-up, is in Tony's keynote, I noticed that it almost literally opened, well, I think it did literally open with the experience economy up there. Now, for those of the people who don't have any history with that was Joe Pine's and James Gilmore's book, the original book, and now in a second edition. And by the way, Joe lives in Minneapolis. He's a diehard Yankees fan. I just want you to know that. So that's how we bonded really well over the Yankees. So, but Joe is the first one to really call it that. And, it's been picked up by, not just you guys, but other vendors out there. But I'm really curious as to how, there's an interesting question there, because if you take your definition, Ginger, there's that. But when they're talking about the experience economy, they tend to talk about what I'll call an experiential economy, meaning these are consumable experiences that are monetizable, modular, and you can buy them, right? I mean, and that's what Joe's talking about. What you're talking about, overarching. Wow,
That's got to be Ginger.
Yeah.
Live near the airport.
You're literally living under LaGuardia. You're literally at LaGuardia, right? So how do you guys view the experience economy itself? Because again, I think that's a really important theme, but again, I hear it used by multiple vendors. Each one has a slightly different, not totally different, but slightly different take on it. So I think, again, to distinguish what Genesys is thinking about, that would be very important, given that Tony literally started his speech with it.
I can have a go on that one. I mean, I think, Paul, one of the things that really comes up, I think, especially when you look at digital and how digital is maybe a little bit different from how more traditional service on voice and email were done years ago, right? Is that, the way that you engage customers, the way that you, talk to them, the way that you can sort of notice what they're doing is much more a part of the actual total product than it used to be. When I, for instance, order food from one of the many food delivery services, all of which have various digital touch points integrated there, I'm consuming something that's them plus the restaurant plus maybe somebody else behind the scenes, and there's this whole thing going on. I mean, to your point of that, experience and engagement are different. Absolutely true. I mean, I can have a great chat about how the meal went sideways, but still be unhappy with the whole thing overall. Mm-hmm. And I can't guarantee that I don't have negative. I mean, I should only have negative feelings about the restaurant if the kitchen screwed up, but I actually also have feelings about the delivery service, even though they're not strictly speaking involved in that. So what's kind of interesting is, certainly you can't buy 100% of experience, because it's also about, your company's culture, how you train your people, and then moment to moment, do you use all of those things to actually create the right experience? I think it's also about, having the technologists and the planners and the designers who are delivering what we would call service, marketing, or sales experiences, actually participating in the core product or service that the company is all about. and co-planning that, right? I mean, you can't do it separately anymore because it's really sort of that combination of things. You know, the actual thing that your whole business is about or your organization is about, its reason for being, but then also all of the layers that you create that make it convenient for people to interact with it, right? And I think that the more that, you know, we can talk to, you know, companies about, think about it holistically, think about it as a system, and then, you know, arrange the technology that, you know, we sell or anybody else sells relative to that. And I think it's our job as Genesys to make sure that our stuff is ready to go, you know, in the ways that's useful, that sockets into that, and then it at least allows these great companies to put their best foot forward as they design their own thing. So that's my take.
Okay, thank you.
Since Paul brought up the keynote and Tony's kind of opening, I had a clip I wanted to play and then ask a question on the other side of that. So this is from the keynote.
We published a study, the Connected Customer Experience Report. In a global survey of 11,000 consumers, nearly 60% said they'd prefer an empathetic customer service experience over a speedy resolution. The top rank attribute of a phenomenal customer service experience was service from an agent who makes it clear they understand your situation, even if it takes longer to solve the issue. 70% of consumers say a company is only as good as its service. And we found out that in a crisis, customers were calling customer service agents just to talk to someone, for the sound of that human voice and connection.
All right. I found that to really be amazing. Now, I mean, usually you call when you need help, but these folks were calling because they need a human connection. I mean, you know, and empathy is not the word you usually think about when you think about customer service. But during the pandemic, it seems like it rose to the top. And Tony mentioned this customer connected customer experience report. Maybe you could talk about some of the key findings, and particularly this empathy thing and the theme that seems to be resonated not only through the keynote, but it seems with the company right now. Empathy is such a huge part of what you are building along with the platform. It's the whole concept of empathy. And I don't know if the term operationalizing empathy is relevant, but just maybe you could talk about this report and the findings from the standpoint of how important empathy seems to be right now.
Sure, I can jump in with a couple stats, and then Brett, maybe you could talk about how that's being operationalized, the way you combine people and technology.
Yep, absolutely.
So one of the things that Tony said was that some people call the contact center just to hear a human voice. So globally, that's about 1 in 6 people. In some countries, it was 1 in 10 when you dig into the regional differences. So it was really interesting that people are looking for some kind of human connection. And, you know, coming from a background of covering one-to-one marketing and the customer experience over so many years, I thought it was really interesting that one of the findings was, as Tony said, that the number one thing that people are looking for when they call the contact center or contact the contact center, it could be, you know, a chat, is being listened to and understood. And they'd rather have the experience take a little bit longer to get that, you know. So speedy resolution was actually number 2, and personalization was number 3, which was fascinating to me because, you know, I'm all about data and personalization. So, but you know, those 3 things tie together really well. And the thing is that empathy in the customer experience isn't just about the agent being nice, right? Of course, you want a nice agent who sounds caring and concerned and wants to help you solve your problem. But empathy might be, you know, we know that someone needs to, in this circumstance, needs to get something done. They need to get it done fast. So we're going to, you know, direct them towards the bot that they can self-serve with, and it's going to be quick like this, and they can get on with their day. And or if it's going to be something complex, we're going to route them to the most skilled person to handle that particular issue. And that's, I think, where the technology links with empathy and, you know, putting people and technology together. So Brett, I'll toss it over to you with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting thing because we, you know, when we construct systems to help with all of this, you know, there's always these natural touch points that we can offer. And yeah, I mean, we can proactively serve up a bot. There's a thinking process before that, which is really the business needs to figure out what kind of problems people have. They need to live in the shoes of the customer a little bit. And I think that more than anything, you know, as you look at, you know, applying tool sets, as product managers, we're always trying to create the best Swiss Army knife for XYZ to allow you to map more fine-grained things on top of that, but also just to be able to scale operationally and to do things well. You know, it's this combination of accuracy through personalization. It's this combination of what is the customer really saying? Are they actually, you know, if a customer disagrees with your personalization, well, that comes upon an interesting moment because you're channeling them down this path, but they actually want to go a different path, right? And then also just serving them in a timely fashion with agents that have convenient tool sets so that they can actually tell what's going on, right? And I think that when I look at the stats coming through in this great report, and this is like such a, you know, it's 11,000 consumers globally. So this is, I mean, it's, you get into some pretty statistically significant stuff. But you know, it's really amazing some of the things that come through about listening, understanding, taking the time, you know, the accuracy, and the idea that, you know, let's figure out when we've actually helped the customer rather than just sort of checking the box and saying we had an interaction, right? You know, and the classic, my handle time is low, you know, which, you know, is really kind of orthogonal to experience success.
Yeah, you know, just add one more set of stats. 70% of consumers say that a company is only as good as its customer service, but about a third are still saying that dealing with customer service is always a hassle. Now, you know, the thing about that particular stat that's interesting to me is it just a hassle because they have to call customer service at all, or is the customer service itself a hassle? That's not really clear. But the fact is there's a huge gap, and there's a big opportunity for companies to win on the customer experience when you take those stats in mind.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. I mind the question, so I'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add to that I think that it goes back to a little bit of a classification problem, right? And a little bit of a channeling problem in the sense of, I think some of the hassle comes with, yes, I have to do it at all, but do I have multiple ways to do it, right? The classic, it must be the 1-800 number if it's this kind of problem. And you don't even know if you have that kind of problem because maybe the company hasn't really gotten its terminology straight. So you have a product called this, but they rebranded 2 years ago, and you don't know that you now have this other thing in their terms, and all their routing is based on those new terms, right? So you end up falling through the cracks, but you didn't even know you were doing that, right? And so I think it's those convenience points where, you know, you need a flexible system where you can sort of tune as you know, yeah, you rebrand, that affects everything else. Operationally, you change everything, that affects the branding actually, right? Those things should be linked in some way so that the customer knows in the experience that they're likely to perceive that they are having, that the operational side is aware of that, you know, and that's actually resident in the systems that they're using. And we recognize that all the time, that, you know, the way a company thinks about something, it's internally focused, it's shipping org chart, and it isn't really sort of creating something cohesive and easy on the customer end. So I personally, I think a lot of that hassle comes from that aspect of, if there can be a more seamless, easy self-service way to do things, let's give customers that wherever possible.
Totally agree. I mean, especially if you can get past the idea that customers don't care about always being delighted. What they care about is making what they do with you easy on them, right? Make it convenient for them. You do that and you've got very
Right.
happy customers continually. All right, so let's
that can be delightful, by the way. Just like getting the basics right is delightful.
That's expected, right? That's the thing. It just prevents anger. That's what it does. Look,
I'm trying to prevent anger right now.
I know you're going to get back into it again. Anyone who says that, I'll make it very easy on both of you. You're both wrong. Okay, so right. So delight is a different level of that. It's not delightful. It's expected. Okay, expected. You're not going to screw up, and expected that you're going to let them do their job, the thing they want from you, get what they want. You'd have to be a pretty bad company to not go there. Right. So here's the thing. You've spoken a lot about empathy. You've released DX. I think you can make at least a linear case, if nothing else, because my math has always been bad, so I can't get beyond addition and subtraction. Right. You can make a linear case that DX supports to Brent's earlier point, the operationalization of that empathy. At the same time, I don't remember where I read this, but I know you have several hundred customers from both small business to enterprise already using DX. So give me a customer story. Give us a customer story that kind of says empathy, DX, operationalization. I mean, pick one of your 4, 5, 600, however many customers you got, and tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, so the DX solution, I think where it's really good is this idea of knowledge everywhere, and you can easily turn the knowledge that you're constantly tuning into self-service experiences, but also help the agent side at the same time. So there's really no difference, right? It's one set of knowledge. Yeah, you can filter it, you can do things, but because of that, you can really start to help customers quite quickly, and then also do some really cool transactional things. One of my favorite customers is Fannie Mae, of course, involved in home loans for many of us in a certain home ownership band. But during COVID, one of the big things that happened because of all the jolts in the economy was a lot of people were worried about their home loan and keeping their home. So what Fannie Mae was able to do is, with a very quick project, stand up a bot that started to answer questions. And really, this is definitely a scale story, right? How many homeowners across the US depend on, and for those of you beyond the US, this is sort of a public-private thing that really backs home loans for most people, frankly, in the US. And the bot was able to conversationally and empathetically answer people's concerns about the loans, and then also channel and help to sort of get to the real intent of the concern and get to the right team within Fannie Mae on the agent side to help to help that person to tell where they were, and also to explore options, right? I mean, I think at times like these, one of the things that you're really worried about is, okay, I'm hitting the panic button. I don't know what my options are. And if you have a way to do that without having to explain the whole story verbally on the phone, maybe some people want to do that for sure. But you're home, you've got kids, you're stuck home, work's falling apart. What do you do? Having that self-service element is huge in that moment. So yeah, so Fannie Mae, a great customer. I love that story because I think it really speaks to, that service can answer fear in some cases, right? And that's what can be more empathetic than that?
No, that's actually amazing. It's and smart too. It's
Oh.
hard. I've never heard Fannie Mae with an empathetic spin in my life, and this is like the first time I can believe it.
Right.
I got another clip I want to play. Trying to set up another conversation. I just found this really interesting. So see what we got here. Take it back to somebody. Here we go.
IDC. Executives rate transforming customer experience as their top business function in 2021. And on top of that, they're willing to pay for it. Companies will spend an estimated $714 billion by 2023 on technology that will improve their customer experience.
There's some big numbers.
Yeah.
Both of those are extremely big numbers. And there was another one that I didn't get in that clip, but something to the effect of 40%. There's going to be 40% more customer service interactions from 2020 to 2021, which is a staggering growth when you think about it. So you put, there's lots of money being spent. There's lots of emphasis on it, and apparently it's a big need. Where should these folks start in trying to infuse and operationalize empathy when they're getting bombarded with 40% more customer service interactions? And how do they choose where you have an agent versus a bot? Because empathy seems to be, well, I was about to say there's probably more empathy with people than with bots, but I've known some bots that had way more empathy than some of the people that were manning the customer contact center. So where should these folks start, and where does this? I know I'm throwing like a lot out here, but there's so much in this keynote. Where does the term or focus around experience orchestration come into play with all this stuff?
Ginger, do you want to have a go there?
With experience, well, I'll pass it back to you, because I feel like it's more about like connecting the technology, which I think the way Genesys operates, it's really an open platform to be able to do that, right? We've got the API, open APIs, we've got this whole partner ecosystem that brings all these things together. But I think if you want to dive in a little bit more on that, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, I look at it from sort of two extremes, right? There's the philosophy that says take everything that's obvious off the table and automate it, make it seamless, make it self-service, right? If you're a bank, application submission is a really obvious one, direct self-service, take care of that. Obviously, if it can be conversational, awesome, but forms are pretty cool too. And as you do that, what you're freeing up the time of the team to do is to deal with the deeper questions with customers live, right? So you're sort of optimizing for that. You can also look at where do customers really hate us if it goes wrong, and where does it matter less? There's some things that are sort of like, it could go south, but it doesn't really affect my opinion of you as much as, in these 5 areas, if we mess up, NPS or other measurements tell us, qualitative as well, voice of customer, we know that we're going to have some pretty bad results. And so I think then if you've said, I'm going to try to use a bot for something, you've got to figure out, can I meet the bar with AI, with automation? Because some of it isn't really AI. It's just, automating the right thing to happen behind the scenes, right? But can I be successful? And then also remember, it's not either or. It's also, can I be successful with a combination of as well? Because you can have a bot experience that's really just there to gather the right context. You can have a bot that's helping the agent, but the agent is the primary face to the customer and adding more, empathy, shall we say, right? We're using the word a lot. So And then I think that in terms of the experience orchestration, it's really about what are all the events that you're generating off of all of these systems working, and then what behind the scenes do you need to be aware of or trigger or get going behind the scenes so that you can better serve that customer, right? You could be alerting another department that the customer's product has a defect. You could be bringing together more users to help with the problem. All of these things I think are really important, and especially with the biggest companies, it's a multi-system environment. We all know that, right? It's not all Genesys stuff. It's not all any vendor stuff. And so how do you weld that together? And it's really a lot of deliberate design and just having the right tool sets to be able to do it with.
Yeah, one of the other things that the connected customer experience report found was that there's clear differences where people want to talk to a human versus work with a bot. So, the humans, there's any like inaccurate billing, technical issues, physical problems with a product, delayed package delay, internet outages, things that are like more concerning, or they have a bigger question about. But their top issues for a bot is make a payment, update account information, request information on a product, things like that, checking a status of a claim. But it's also clear that being able to connect those and pass the conversation along is so important and helpful. So, we've been talking about in customer service for such a long time about not having to repeat the conversation. And the more channels people use, the more they expect to still be able to do that, right? So, if they've given their account number in the IVR, they don't want to have to give it again to a person. Well, if they've given their account number, they're not going to give their account number to the bot, but whatever, if they give some piece of information to the bot, they don't want to have to say it again to the agent. And just like the more channels you have, the more that still applies. So you need to make sure that you're standing up a connected system as you expand.
All right, now that's good stuff. We're getting a little too serious here, so we're going to break it up a little bit. So last week we had John Hernandez on, and the day before we had John on in the CRM Playaz happy hour, we got into this discussion about what was your favorite 70s TV show. So we're going to ask you that, but before we ask you that, we want to ask you, because this will let us know if you actually watched the show or not. No pressure or anything, but do you happen to know what John Hernandez said was his favorite 70s TV show?
I watched the show. I don't remember. I feel like it was a show that like I hadn't watched, and it was like, it wasn't MASH, was it? No. Because I remember Paul saying something about it was from the 60s or into the 70s or something.
She was watching. Mm-hmm. She was watching. Brett, do you have a guess?
I didn't watch that part. but I will say that my favorite 70s TV show actually is MASH. So
well, Ginger, what's yours?
Well, do I have any other option but to say Gilligan's Island?
Oh.
Was that 70s?
That's I think that may be 60s. Yeah.
I don't know, but it's
of course.
All right.
I had to throw it out
research.
there.
All right. Well, just so that you both know, whenever you run into John Hernandez.
Was it before you say it, was it the one with the robot and the kid?
Danger Will Robinson?
Yeah, that one. I feel like that came up in conversation. That didn't come up in conversation.
That was 60s too, wasn't it? I think that was the 60s too.
I think that's 60s.
By the way, Gilligan's Island was 64 to 67, so you're not out of the woods yet, Ginger.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Wow.
All right.
It's a 70s show.
So here's the answer to the question. Whenever that comes up, if John, somebody asks you, well, what is John Hernandez's favorite 70s TV show? Here,
your customers are going to be very interested in this.
You know what? I hope I can do this. All right, here we go.
IDC. Executives rate
No.
trend.
Oh,
No.
wrong one. Here's the one.
What?
Tony mentioned that in his keynote
Give
as
us
well.
your favorite 70s show.
I gotta say, it has to be Good Times. JJ Walker.
Wow.
Yeah. Dynamite.
I was getting ready to ask him to say that. All right.
Good one.
I had to get that part.
Wow.
So glad yeah, that I had to get that part in there where he said dynamite.
Now, if you'd like that clip, it's for blackmail purposes. You're welcome. To
I think that's the next LinkedIn excerpt, Brent.
Oh, it's already been accepted. Yeah,
That's right.
it's already been there.
It's in the cloud. Right. So, well, I mean, we know we're coming up. We've got a few minutes, but the question I'm about to ask you guys will take a few minutes. So, here's the thing. So, you look at Genesys, say the last decade, right? And it's all duh, by the way, Sven. If you look at Genesys, the last decade, you see a company that, was contact center, and that's how it's seen. And now it's evolved to engagement and CX. And, you've got a very dramatic evolution over time, but you also haven't lost a beat in terms of the evolution. Now you've launched DX, and you're starting to advance it. You're opening up the platform. You're beginning to integrate with a lot of other capability, both other vendors' technologies, but also just other general capabilities. You're exploring new vistas and avenues. Experience 21, and arguably, is the show where you're highlighting more innovation than you've ever highlighted before. So, and the interesting aspect of all of that is you always stayed pretty well aligned to the market, right? So, given that the market's going to continue to go somewhere, and given that you guys are going to continue to grow and exist, what do you see? Where do you see? So it's two parts. A, where do you see the market going? Where, in terms of what kind of things people are going to be looking for as time evolves, and B, how do you see your roadmaps evolving with that, to the extent you can talk about it?
Sure. I mean, I think that we were alluding to it a little bit in the last sort of technology-based question, although TV shows involve a lot of technology as well. But, that area of experience orchestration is, I think, one of the most interesting things in the business today. There's sort of that, a lot of companies say it's marketing, sales, service. I think what we kind of mean is the events between all those activities flow back and forth, and then the AI starts to become more about how do we tune that? How do we auto suggest? How do we make sure that we are capturing the right optimization points? I think that is really sort of where the puck's going. I think it's, we're in such a data rich environment. Every tool set comes with its own mini BI, but all of those BIs, are they connected to each other? Is there something actionable? What is the orchestrator behind the scenes? And, to the extent possible, and, it's really orchestrators of orchestrators too, right? You have bots orchestrating back-end things. You have back-end things that maybe could target within what we call a bot today. But it really becomes, sort of a set of intelligent systems that you can, sort of, almost conduct as if, you're performing a concert. And that I think is, that kind of creating that sense of everything works with everything is, I think that's the big challenge in technology today. It's why you see a lot of the big partnerships, that we're doing. We've got a great relationship with Adobe, great relationship with Microsoft, great relationship with Google. But then we're also building a sense of how do all of our systems interconnect, and how do our systems connect with the customer systems, because they still own a lot of their own tech and things that they bought from other vendors. And so that stitching together, I think, is really the it's a place where we will invest deeply, and it's, you know, where we'll look to, you know, to grow into the future as well. We think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, I'll just add, so one of the things that I've seen over, you know, the past several years that's will continue is a really the blending of, you know, marketing and sales, marketing and service, service and sales, all those lines at certain key points of the customer journey are really, you know, coming together. And so you see that some of the things that Genesys is doing is addressing that. So like what Brett just talked about with AI, right? The next best action, that's the contact center, but it's also marketing, right? And so it's, you know, it's, you see these things happening in the market, and you see Genesys is, they're talking to their customers, they're seeing what the need is, and they're addressing it. And I feel like more and more wanting to lead the market too, and, you know, to help customers get where they need to be. And, you know, so I thought it was really interesting. One of the other announcements that Genesys just made is the partner with Qualtrics, right? And it's one of the important things about when you're listening and understanding and being empathetic to the customer is creating what Don Peppers and Martha Rogers call a learning relationship, right? So you learn something about the customer, you take an action, you let them know, they're like, great. They do the next thing. You learn, you know, you learn, integrate it into your system. It creates this you know, positive circle, right? So, you know, Genesys is about delivering those engaging customer experiences, those empathetic customer experiences, and Qualtrics is about getting to the customer sentiment about how they really feel about all those experiences. And so you can create that virtuous cycle with that partnership, right? And so, you know, it's just, I just feel like Genesys so much has its ear to the ground and is trying to address all the things that are really important right now.
I almost don't want to ask this, but I think it's kind of interesting because I don't want to take too much time on this, but there was a big conversation in the happy hour crew yesterday around, you know, the kind of the relationship between customer experience and employee experience. Give us your take on that, and how important or how interconnected are each of them to the success of the other? Because it seems like empathy, we talked a lot about empathy mostly between customer and vendor. What does empathy also mean between employee, you know, in different parts of the business as they work to create better experiences for customers? Is that a part of this mix too?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the employee experience is integral to creating a great customer experience. You know, it's almost cliche to say, you know, a happy customer or a happy employee makes for a happy customer, but it's true. If you're a miserable employee, like how it's hard to then be an empathetic to a customer who's having an issue, right? So, and again, empathy to your employee isn't just about being nice and showing that you care. I mean, obviously those things are essential, but it's also about providing the tools so that they can best serve the customer. And sometimes that's a great manager giving them a pat on the back. And sometimes it's, you know, AI whispering in their ear of what the next, you know, coaching them on what the next thing to say or do is to the customer, or giving them access to information really quickly. Like the story that Brett was telling us before about, you know, agents and customers having the access to the same information in different ways. Like, you don't want the customers to have information and then they go talk to an agent and the agent's like, I don't know, you know. So being empathetic to the agent is making sure that they're able to do their job and not get frustrated and be able to deliver that great experience that the customers expect.
Yeah, I would add that the empathetic employee needs to be the empowered employee. I think that's a great point, Ginger. Just that the you know, several years ago, I launched a social customer service product, and one of the examples that always bubbled up was, so many of these operations on Twitter are really just in charge of saying sorry and giving you the 1-800 number. it's kind of, which is, okay, great. You are empathetic, but it would be so much better if your own company treated you seriously enough to think, hey, we could really do service in that environment, and at least, get you over digitally to the right kind of resource. And so it can become a missed opportunity. And I think that the employees who feel like they can really do something about the problem, and maybe can make some of their own decisions about the best way to do it as well, right? I think the big challenge with scaling is, as you do that, some of the drive to consistency can, sort of remove the human equation, and so we've got to keep that somehow, and save time in the right places, not every place, because it can really destroy the experience if done poorly.
Yeah, great point.
Great point. And we're at the end of the show, and we do have a question we have to ask Brett. And quite honestly, you just mentioned not wanting to destroy a great experience. Well, we've had a great experience with this show so far. But
so far, but
it all kind of hinges on this last question here. But before I ask that, where are you originally from? Where'd you grow up?
South Jersey, so in the cheesesteak belt. More Philadelphia oriented than New York, but yeah. I went to college in North Jersey, so I do that too, as well.
Okay, I feel like you're in the safe zone, although there's still issues with South Jersey.
Right,
exactly. I know
I have
but
issues.
Anyway. So, do you have a favorite NFL team?
Yeah. Well, actually, so I've been in the Bay Area for 21 years, so I've actually gone native 49ers, but which, sorry, Brent, but actually you guys see the guitars. So the singer in my band is probably the world's, second or third biggest Rams fan. So
it would be either second or third.
Right.
Well, I'm assuming he's behind you, right? Yeah. But yeah, I went through some phases. If the Eagles are doing well, I'm there with them. But I go California these days.
Hey, dude, there was only one really wrong answer to this, and that wasn't it. So you're good to go. As long as you didn't say Patriots, you can come back.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I mean, let's say this: you've lost a little luster in my eyes by saying Eagles at any point in your life, but I'm a Giants fan, so what can I say?
I didn't pronounce it correctly either, right? Eagles.
Yeah, the
Eagles. The Eagles.
All right, hey Brett, this has been great, and thanks again for making time. I know you've been at it all day, and we really appreciate you stopping by, and of course.
Absolutely.
It's always good to see Ginger.
I know. It's good and continually heartbreaking.
Yes.
Feel the love.
Yeah, well, the gun show has to end at some point today, folks.
Right.
And there it is. Okay, so on behalf of Brett, I'm going to just say I'm Brent Leary.
And on behalf of Ginger,
I wanted to see if she was going to do it for old.
No, no, you know
what?
Ginger
Conlon.
Wait, stop there. Let's run this again. And Ginger, we would appreciate it for our own emotional strength for you to actually do this with us. Okay. All right. So Brent, why don't you give it another start? All right. Take two.
Okay.
Scene.
On behalf of Brett, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm Ginger Conlon.
Yay.
I have to admit, it did feel good hearing you say that again. Okay.
She completed us.
Yeah.
And we are.
Oh, look, she's even giving me cues.
He's literally completing us.
I
He's
know.
literally completing us.
Apparently, we are the CRM players. And before we can say goodbye, I have to get one thing ready. Now I can say goodbye.